Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for watching Beyond Science. It's Mikexingchen. The Black Knight I'm about to talk about is not at all related to this guy with all his money, cool gadgets, and the ability to hide in dark alleys. The Black Knight we're going to be talking about in this video is even more mysterious. In fact, many people think it's an alien satellite that has been kept secret by NASA and the government for almost 80 years since it was first discovered. Over the decades, there have been many sightings of the strange object, but no one knows why it's up there floating in space. All reports from US, Russia, and Europe in general say the satellite is of unknown origin. So what is this curious object anyway? When was it discovered? What does it do? Well, let's start from the very beginning. Although there are varied opinions, it is generally believed that Nikola Tesla was the one who discovered the Black Knight when he set up a magnifying transmitter at his Colorado Springs facility in 1899 to investigate wireless distribution of electricity. What he didn't expect were strange signals that were repeated periodically with number and order. They were timed pulses coming as 1, 2, 3 that led him to believe that the signal was indeed coming from an extraterrestrial source. Tesla originally thought the signals were being sent from Mars, but he later restated that the signal was actually coming from another part of space. It's not surprising that Tesla associated the signal with alien intervention because a lot of people believe that Tesla has had contact with aliens. It is believed that he received information from aliens in a number of different cases. For example, once he was trying to find an equation or principle for the AC machine, and suddenly out of nowhere he got the answer via telepathy or from an unknown source. Apparently, he also invented many things for the government that were kept from the public, but that's another story on its own. Not long after Tesla's discovery, Guglielmo Marconi, an Italian inventor and electrical engineer, was also intercepted by a strange unknown artificial signal. He found that some of his Morse code messages were being returned to him, which fascinated and frightened him at the same time. Following his discovery in 1927, another man named Jørgen Haze, a civil engineer in Oslo, Norway, was using a radio receiver to listen to shortwave transmissions and noticed something very peculiar was happening. His signals were being reflected back to him. He didn't know what it was, but the echoes were being reflected back to him at strange intervals ranging from 3 to 15 seconds. These irregularly reflected intervals were later known to be LDES, or long delayed echoes. After the occurrence of all these events that might have been related to alien interaction, especially the LDES, the press was majorly stirred up. From 1928 to 1930, experiments were performed that tested the legitimacy of the reflected signals, and it turned out that they were very real indeed. The only problem was that no one had an explanation for the signal's reflections. As a result, even more experiments were run in France and the UK in the 1930s. But at the end of the day, scientists could do nothing but be confused and speechless. Even today, we don't have an agreed upon explanation for the occurrence and the location of these LDES. Of course, after the experiments were run, the Black Knight became an even hotter topic for many news outlets, and the first story of the alien shuttle appeared on May 14, 1954, when the St. Louis Dispatch and the San Francisco Examiner wrote about it, explaining that the US had found a strange satellite in space, and that it could possibly be a surveillance satellite launched by the Russians. Then on August 23, 1954, another story was released about the Black Knight, this time by the tech magazine Aviation Week and Space Technology. They basically told the world that the Pentagon found 2 satellites orbiting the Earth, both of which were natural. The Pentagon was of course furious when they heard about the release of the story because they did not want the satellites to be known to the public. As a result, they lied to the people and told them that the satellites were merely asteroids. But by then, the public already knew that something was up, and that either the Russians had managed to put something into orbit or there was something more supernatural at work. A few years later, in March of 1960, another satellite was found orbiting Earth. This satellite was a spectacular discovery because it wasn't like the previously discovered satellites at all. It was a large black object weighing around 15 tons that was in polar orbit around Earth, which means that it passes over polar regions and has a plane that contains the polar axis. This is really amazing because first of all, the US and the Soviets didn't even know how to put an object into polar orbit. Secondly, neither country was capable of putting an object that weighed that much into space. Third of all, the satellite was twice as fast as any known satellite at the time. As a result, the strange polar orbiting satellites acquired a name, the Black Knight. No one knows for sure the origins of the name, but it's believed that the name is based on a rocket the British had developed, which was also called Black Knight. After the amazing discovery, astronomers across the country conducted research on the satellites and realized that it had one of the strangest patterns of appearance and disappearance, because it would disappear for long periods of time before reappearing again years later. According to Robert L. Johnson, director of the Adler Planetarium, the object doesn't even have the decency to maintain a regular schedule like any other heavenly or man-made object. We don't know when to watch for it. After this discovery, the biggest question, of course, was what is this thing and what does it do? And Stanford space scientist Ronald Bracewell had a possible explanation. He believed that the satellite was a way for a distant alien civilization to communicate with Earth. He said the aliens might have sent out a probe, or Bracewell probe as we now call it, into the universe to look for other planets that seemed promising and contained intelligent life forms. He said that the satellites would remain dormant until humans found a way to send signals to it, in which it would send signals back. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Duncan Lunnon, a Scottish science writer, was so intrigued by Bracewell's theory that he decided to test it out for himself. He re-examined the data from the LDE experiments of 1928 and was absolutely and completely baffled. What happened was he mapped out the delays from the echoes he recorded in 1928 and found that they formed the pattern of the Boötes constellation, a constellation in the northern sky. Not only that, Lennon was also able to decode the message that was being conveyed from the LDE data at a stable point between the orbits of Earth and the Moon, called L5. The message read, "Start here. Our home is Epsilon Boötes, which is a double star. We live on the 6th planet of 7. Check that. 6th of 7, counting outwards from the Sun, which is the largest of the two. Our 6th planet has 1 moon. Our 4th planet has 3. Our 1st and 3rd planets each have 1. Our probe is in the orbit of your moon. This updates the position of Arcturus shown on our maps." If that's legit, that's some spine-tingling stuff. And that's not all. What's even more amazing is that, along with the decoded message, Lennon also realized something else. Although he made his discovery in 1972, he realized that the star system he saw from the LDE data was not like the star system he saw in the skies at all. He concluded that if the Black Knight really was an alien probe, it must have taken ages to reach Earth. So by looking back in time, London realized that the map he created matched how Epsilon Boötes looked like the Epsilon Boötes that was in the skies 13,000 years ago. This means that the satellites possibly sent from a distant alien civilization could have been orbiting the planet since prehistory. By then, Lennon was pretty much convinced that the alien civilization living near the Boötes constellation was trying to contact Earth. It's possible that the same signal was also intercepted by Tesla and Marconi as well, but we will never know for sure. Sadly, since there wasn't solid proof regarding the existence of such a supernatural satellite, people started to believe the Pentagon and that the Black Knight was just some space debris. But this all changed when visual evidence of the satellites was found in 1998, when the crew of the space shuttle Endeavour was able to take high-resolution pictures of the strange black object while they were in space. The old stories of Tesla, LDES, and London's constellation map once again resurfaced in the minds of people across the country. Even to this day, we are still not sure what the Black Knight is, what it does, and where it comes from. But to most people, one thing is for sure. It's no regular satellite. Guys, this was such an interesting topic to talk about, and I just have a thought about this. What if this thing isn't alien at all? And I talk about this a lot on this channel, but there has been so many clues about ancient, advanced civilization existing before us. So what if this was a satellite put into space by us, or our ancestors who were extremely advanced? Also, and I'm just throwing crazy ideas out here, what if the message from the constellation Boötes that's actually sent by us? What if we left Earth already and relocated over there, but we left this thing behind until, I don't know, the new group of us were able to communicate with it? So perhaps humans have already left Earth and are now living among the stars. I don't know. Anyway, crazy ideas, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know, do you first of all believe that the Black Knight satellite is real? And secondly, if it is real, what do you think it does? All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.